we had a network engineer. What was the role of the network engineer or admin? What tasks he used to do? Designing, setting up, maintaining networks. In reality, we have done the POC yesterday by creating the VPC and its components. Those tasks, only VPC related components, these guys used to do in the past. I'm correlating to our POCs also to get understanding clearly what tasks we have done in the POC, how they can be mapped to these roles also. Okay. Then maintaining devices. What are the devices? Basically physical devices, routers, such kind of things. But routers are virtual routers we have in VPC. Those maintenance is not required. Once it is set up with rules, all those things, NACL rules, router rules, security groups creation, all those things. Then managing security groups and users, as we have seen in the security groups in EC2, and we are mapping that security groups to different missions to connect for intra-networking, all those things. It means overall the network engineer or admin role is around the VPC only it is running.
Yeah.
Right? Now.
So yeah, in
yes.
in the physical data center, so what you have here, so managing routers, switches, and whatever
Yes.
network cabling,
Yes.
whatever is there, and managing the security groups are nothing but firewalls in traditional sense.
Yeah,
So
firewalls, but there are virtual firewalls here.
here in our in AWS,
Cloud,
it's
yes.
virtual.
Yeah,
There's no device called
any cloud
yeah
you take it, GCP or
yeah
Azure, they call it
yeah
virtual firewalls. But
yes.
here we are calling it security groups, but still it is part of the firewalls.
So yeah, before that, before these clouds, we were actually working physically at the data center,
Yes.
pulling out the cables and
Hmm.
testing those testing those routers and
Hmm.
switches and all that.
Hmm.
And it was a big part of a network engineer's job to
Yes.
manage those. Yeah,
Yes. And if it is a new project setup, it was a hell for them. They used to sit day and night, including weekends also.
yeah, yeah.
Like a software deployment happens in the weekend production, like 3 days job or 2.5 days job in the
Yes,
weekend, right? The similar
yeah,
one.
yeah. I was involved in the disaster recovery
Uh, uh, uh.
testing and disaster recovery design
Mm,
architecture.
mm,
And in data centers you have aisles.
mm,
So one aisle is
mm,
cold and one aisle is hot.
mm, mm, mm.
And when you're physically there, you will be moving between cold and hot because you're
Mm.
pulling plugs, you're checking everything. It's a and you're doing it in a secured environment. It's like a jail. Nobody's allowed and nobody's
Yeah,
everything
security
is
is
monitored.
followed,
Yeah,
rules are followed,
yeah,
physical
yeah.
security, basically.
Yes,
Yes.
I spent like 2 months at a stretch in those
Uh,
data centers
yes,
back
yes,
in yeah.
yes. Yeah,
But now a cloud comes in.
mm,
When I moved to these cloud related jobs,
mm,
I was physically, I mean, in order to make a small change to a router or test something, it
mm,
was like a month's job, a
mm,
month of
mm,
bureaucracy, a month of scheduling something and going there and making sure all the security is there, making sure all the people are available,
mm.
network engineers, everybody. But now when
Right.
we move to a cloud,
Mm.
it's a simple 10-minute job.
All those activities are vanished, physical
Yeah,
activities.
exactly. So in order to have for example, in order to install a new rack or new
Mm,
server inside a data center,
mm.
it's a 6 months job. In
Yes.
order to increase the storage to a terabyte,
Mm,
you go through a process and bureaucracy, discussions, shouting, screaming.
mm,
Finally, you get the approval, and then you physically go in to insert it. And basically, though they allow, initially there was no hot backups where or hot installations where
yes.
you don't have to take system down in order to
Mm,
install.
correct.
Initially, you have to make everything planned, so you have to give a 6 months notice
Mm,
for all the. I was working with National Health Services, so
mm,
there are
mm,
about 34 trusts, which means 100 or
mm,
100 plus
mm,
hospitals
mm,
to be informed and agreed and all that. And then
mm,
that's when you go in, switch off everything, put the new rack in, and test
mm,
everything and make sure everything works. Then switch it on. But later on, it improved as you can do hot. So like even though the systems are online, you can still insert and configure it. But now even that took more 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
In the cloud, you don't have to. You just have a click of a button, 10-minute job, and that's it.
Yes, in the past, we used to spend a lot of work for the coordination.
Mm.
60% efforts are used to go for
Yeah,
coordination. That is not there, right?
yeah, yeah,
So this is all about network engineer and admin role and
yeah.
activities, and it is
Mm.
packaged into the environment, cloud environment with the different services to do all the infra activities of this role particularly. So
Mm.
now any role guy who comes to this era, cloud era, they are mandated to learn these tasks,
Yeah.
understand these tasks, what is there in VPC, why it should be there, routing kind of thing, all that.
Mm.
Now, second part is system administrator. Then creating physical missions with OS, Windows, Linux. You know, in offices, how much time they used to spend network guys to set up that new project environments and configure softwares, servers. Depends on the role they have. Different teams, as we saw in the earlier IAM chart.
Mm.
For them, different softwares they used to configure it. Then third is allocating, maintaining the users. Yes. Then maintaining the missions. So all these are there in the IAM role as well as in the virtual mission.
Mm.
So maintaining users is their part of the IAM role.
Mm.
And configuring all these things depends on the services we have been given access, who will be able to configure independently also. It means in overall, if you see the real guy who is working the new technology, modern technology, whatever role is a test engineer or is a developer, is a technical architect, or it can be any of the infra roles from the past migrated.
Mm.
In a single word, it is called setting up the environment. Environment setup is required for test engineer, for developer,
Yeah.
for DevOps engineer, for any cloud engineer, or any other architects also, right? So they
Yeah.
are mandated to learn all these things in cloud. These
Mm.
tasks are embedded in the cloud services. Now we need to learn how these cloud services can be used it at the same time, how they can be integrated for this kind of activities.
Mm.
In fact, if you see, yes, yesterday's setup, she has done physical mission is virtual mission. She has made it into networks, so two subnets, EC2 missions. Then later she configured the server, database server, and this one also. Database server, what she used it, AWS services, RDS she used it. In that database instance is created under serverless computing. It is created in the backend. We don't need to do any maintenance of the database, right?
Mm.
DBA activities. So in
Yeah. Yeah.
reality, if you create the database, you need to work all those things. And she uploaded the database through the script only, automated scripts,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Then IAM role she created in the beginning. She gave access through that access only. She laid on the architecture, all these things.
Yeah.
Then, then coming to DBA, configuring, maintaining DB servers. Yes, he used to sit continuously set up the DB servers for particular production systems. If you see, even test environments also,
Yeah.
all those things, and maintain permissions. Yes, you need to give access levels to the different role people. Sometimes developers needs DBA access to create some schemas on his own for testing purpose, in the unit testing purpose, all that kind of a test environment. Testers need that kind of environment. Then backup, upgrades, replicas. These all are very crucial mundane tasks. They used to burn
Yes.
themselves hours together in the
Yes. Yeah.
either in the data center or in the project environment, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, these all are clubbed together in the RDS, basically.
Mm.
All
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
tasks. There is no independent server required it like setting up MySQL server in an EC2 machine or Linux machine. It is inbuilt in the service, AWS service, which is called RDS. She has done the same thing yesterday as DBA activity, right? Now, when it comes to the deployment, there you have environment. On the environment, you need to deploy the build. For building, they used to do packaging tools and they package it. They deploy through the tools only. Then they track the issues also. The inconsistencies used to be there because build is not a tool based. They used to do manually packaging that through particular scripts. They wrote scripts. There were no Maven or Gradle tools in the past. So now tools are there. Tools has got standard process and it is well accepted by different cloud services. They are using the same environment to deploy the builds using the code repository, code build process or deployment activities in cloud services. If you see all these things, these are all coming under DevOps activities, AWS DevOps. So all these are clubbed into the services. Now you see, you take one cloud engineer, he is taking care of all these roles. But how many of the cloud engineers are aware of these roles, these tasks, really what they need to do in a sequential order? That's where the infra knowledge lacks. So this infra knowledge, we are getting this through diagrams and feasible solutions through our design steps. All these things are going to be applied. It has been successful in the POCs. Now let us go to the developer role. What are their tasks in reality? So collection of product requirements. It is part of Agile. It became sprint cycle requirement, right? Then designing them for software code. Yes, there is a test-driven development concept has come in Agile. They are using that specifications for developing. Then building the development environment. Developing source code, unit testing and fixing, coordinating for other activities. But here, when they build the development environment, it is involved in cloud.
Yeah.
So obviously, these guys are mandated to learn how to work with the cloud. You worked in the development, right? You feel like, is this valid? Learning cloud for the developer also?
Yeah.
Obviously, right? Because they're touching the infrastructure. Infrastructure became cloud now, right? In cloud, they need to understand the services, basically, how to build a database, how to build a virtual machine, how to build the server, because they are entitled to do unit testing and declare it. Build is ready for deployment for testers, right?
Yeah.
And then all these are common. Apart from that, they need to learn cloud services also and use it. So here, if you see again, testing activities, creating test cases against design requirements, whatever TDD is there, they are doing it on that. Then building a test environment for entire product, then executing the test. It can be automated test, it can be manual test. Again, these activities will go around with them only, with that role only, but still they are supposed to learn the test environment specifications and designing, developing that environments.
Yeah.
Earlier, they used to take the help of DBA, sysadmin, network guys to build the test environments. Now those roles are vanished.
Yeah.
When they are vanished, they are entitled, they are enforced to learn the AWS services and build all these things.
Yeah. Even before this cloud and before our enterprise architecture side of things, all these were done by one person. Back in 2000, 2001, when I joined my first thing, there was no differentiation. You were called a software engineer. You were supposed to know everything. I was doing mostly all these single-handedly at that time. Nobody said it's called DevOps.
There wasn't a DevOps. Deployment also came around 15 years back.
Yeah.
Into the
They
practice.
separated all these. Initially, it wasn't like
Practice.
this. I mean,
Yes.
back in 2000, I was developing code, testing it, deploying it, and meeting clients, speaking to people, and everything was happening within within a very small team. Now people have grown in. These have grown into different areas and titled, but cloud is bringing them all together through this DevOps and architecture.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is very much required for us to understand what roles we're moving forward, and we need to groom our back-end skills also to meet to that tasks also whenever it comes. But they are hidden. Many people are not aware what are the roles of these guys in the past, and how these all are automated it in the back-end using the serverless computing in some areas. Then this one also is automated it in the DevOps process basically. So here these two areas are automated, and in here also some parts are automated within the virtual machines. You can upgrade the machines or something like that. For upgrading, they used to spend a lot of hours physically, the sysadmin guys. Then when it comes to the networking, once it is installed it in the physical network, they can sleep. There won't be issues much. Maybe 0.001% used to be their network issues, right? But in VPC, every time you need to learn VPC, create the VPC for every role of these things. Developer need to create VPC, test engineer need to create VPC, right? And of course, the cloud engineer altogether master, he need to understand and create that setup on top. That's where we have seen in the POCs also. So
if we aim, if we like you said in our earlier discussions few sessions ago, you said if we aim for smaller or startup companies, then probably we'll get to work on all these
activities.
all these different roles, and because there's nobody there, not many resources, you have to pick up whatever is. But if you're going into a bigger companies like Microsoft or whatever, then your role will be a kind of high level, and if you're going for architect, and you will have a team of all these people, cloud
Yes,
engineers.
you will be fitting with this domain knowledge to plan for the architecture.
That. So probably that will be the ideal thing because of the experience and all the understanding.
Yes, after having this course done, POC is done. With this knowledge, with the past experiences, it can be correlated to understand the legacy systems infrastructure and convert them into cloud. Right. Poonam, you got it? What were the roles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let us stop our recording.